Well, good afternoon and welcome to this possibly is the post-lunch session. So we have more responsibility, Murali and Vijay, because we have a topic which I think is very interesting because it talks
Interesting.
about vitamin M, which is money and incentives and rewards, which I think is on everybody's mind. Considering where we came out of in the pandemic, where we had to be a bit more conscious of what we did with our money and how we spent our money. But so what we're going to try and do over the next 25 minutes is really dig deep into the space of employee engagement, primarily around the spaces of rewards, incentives, and compensation. So I want to first come to you, Vijay. And the last 10 odd months have been very, very difficult on our people. I think, there are people who were just not able to come to work and they were not connected. So obviously, people who were connected, therefore, and were working virtually had to pull that much additional load for those people. Work and home boundaries vanished, which meant that people were practically working nonstop beyond supporting what they needed to support at home. And just because of the changing customer needs and the changing ask, just the need for survival meant that people had to burn much harder. Now, what I want to really go to you, Vijay, with is saying, how are we rewarding some of those people that have seen some exceptionally stressful, high volatility work times and have contributed to the organization? So what have you at BDR Pharma been thinking about doing for some of these people, and how are you distinguishing rewards for some of these people?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Unmesh, to start the session and all. So, let me tell you, actually, we have already rewarded our teams. Our teams have performed exceptionally well. It was we are kind of a work from home just for only few days. Okay, my teams, they braved the pandemic. They attended the duties. You can say they put up very brave front. They give me a lot of productivity in this entire pandemic. Okay, and that's the reason, what we did actually. We did something wonderful for our teams. During pandemic, we did not go for any salary cuts, or you can say other things. We rewarded them with increments. Then this year we did something different. We had gone ahead with across the board bonuses. Okay. Apart from that, just to put an icing on the cake, we have rolled out an exceptional, you can say, employee loyalty program, wherein we have a lion and lioness logo actually. So we named those categories as BDR Lions and Lionesses, BDR Cubs and BDR Rangers. So first five top performers across, you can say, 1,000+ employees we have. So first five top performers, okay, they will be categorized as a BDR Lions and BDR Lionesses. So those people in the year one, they get a 20% one-time bonus. Year two they get, you can say, same person gets nominated, he get 30%. Year three he gets a 5 years international holiday, company sponsored holiday. And if it is year four, then he gets 50% increment of this one. And apart from that, we have wanted to give some wonderful experiences to the teams. So a kind of a premium handsets, then you can say club membership, gym memberships, and then BDR merchandise or something like that. So that flows to next 18 performance also. But again, international holiday gets replaced with the domestic holiday. 2 months get replaced with you can say 1 month, and then 3 months, something like that. And then there are the special mention category of 20 people apart from that. So total we are going to recognize 43 people this year. We already set the protocols in place, and identified. So we are not behind. We are way ahead basically, and we did it actually. And see, it's a part of, you can say, our scientific gesture for our teams. Okay, and I can proudly say that at BDR, I'm really happy, a proud member to lead the teams. Thank you.
Good. Great stuff, Vijay. I think, look, I mean, there is only so much that people can continue to give. I think it needs to be rewarded, recognized at an appropriate time. Murli, coming to you, I'm sure you've been reading. PhonePe recently announced a good series of ESOPs for its employees. Some other startups are playing the same card. I was reading about the Aries group in the Middle East, which actually has decided to pay some kind of an allowance to the wives of their employees who are housewives, basically, right? So different organizations are trying different things. Let's come to your world of entity, and I know that you guys are going to go into an integration exercise recently, but what are you guys doing differently around the whole rewards and incentive space to be able to recognize the discretionary extra effort that people have put in, but also keep this pragmatic, because we have a business to run finally.
Thanks, Unmesh. I think great question. Entity India, as you rightly said, we are in the middle of several things that are happening at the same time. We have a big group integration that's happening right now as we speak. But let me talk a little bit about the heroes at work, as we call them. Right from day one, I mean, our biggest client, we are an IT services company. Our biggest client base is in the banking sector for the most part. We've got a variety of other clients, but some of our largest clients are in the banking services industry. And as you know, banking services has been designated an essential service. And as the service provider to the banking service, we've been also called out as an essential service. So we literally had no lockdown for a very large majority of our employees. So we were faced with a very different challenge, which is really we had an obligation to serve our clients both contractually and because of the fact that if the IT services that we provide our clients, the banks, had any challenges, I mean, it would have had catastrophic effect on several other things that have, by way of a ripple effect. So for us, it was critically important that we made sure that there was absolutely no break in continuity, which means really we had to get 20-something young people, who very often, not just themselves, but answer to their parents as to why they're going out and braving the pandemic and going out and servicing the client. So for us, it was a remarkable thing that, literally from day one, we had wholehearted support from the teams. They were out there, they were servicing clients. So our biggest motivation at that point in time was to our most critical aspect of what we were grappling with, contending with, was to make sure that they could safely do their work, which meant making sure that logistics was taken care of. And there was a time when you had passes galore that needed to be filled. We had restrictions on movement from one state to another. We had to make sure our clients had these kinds of protection. So those were the kinds of challenges. So the engagement with our employees was critically important. And engagement when you have 2,000 people out there in the field servicing clients, right down to the last person, becomes very, very difficult. So the message to our leaders, team leaders, who had to motivate the teams, make them understand the need, make them understand. So it was about building a sense of pride, building a sense of responsibility, bringing a sense of understanding of why what they were doing was very, very critical. I think all of those dominated the first several months of what we wanted to do. So make sure our clients were serviced, and make sure our people were taken care of safely and with little or no risks. So that was one part of it. So we've launched a program called Heroes of Entity, and we believe that that motivating people, engaging with people, and rewarding people is not limited just to monetary rewards.
Yeah,
I believe there are multiple facets to recognition and multiple facets to making people feel like they belong in the organization. And that is really where we were focused as an IT service industry. We were certainly caught in the throes of everything that pandemic threw at us from a business standpoint, but we wanted to make sure that they felt that pride. So that was really where we were really looking to focus. Because we have such a distributed force, a large number of people are field engineers, sometimes several of them located at client premises. Connecting with them was very important. How do you instill a sense of affiliation to the company, especially at the time of such crisis? So our efforts were focused on that. Our endeavor going forward, now that we're coming out of this, is to relook at not just the rewards and recognition from the standpoint of engagement and affiliation, but we'll look at, as we go forward, on what we need to do from a compensation and things like that standpoint as well. But we are taking care of those frontline workers in every possible way that we can do. I'll stop there. I have something else, but we'll talk.
Yeah. So let's deep dive on this topic that you talked about, the distributed workforce. And to both you and Vijay, I think we're going to see the reality of a truly hybrid distributed workforce coming to a reality. You will see people who potentially will, most likely, some percent of the workforce will be working from home forever. Some percentage of the workforce will have an opportunity to come to work at best 3 times in a week, which will mean there may not be enough intersection between two sets of people. There may be people who are feet on street who may never need to come to work, because you will say, well, you're feet on street, do that, go back home, don't have to come back and report to headquarters or office. And compounded with that is we're going to start to see more and more gig workers being used, neo gig workers being used, people that were potentially part of the employee work base, but you don't require them consistently. So you're going to let them go, move them off the payroll, but really have them as contractors with first right of opportunity to the organization as neo gigs. With all of these different frames coming into place, right? What do you think, Murali, is going to shift from a compensation and reward standpoint? How is this going to get played out? Because two people potentially doing the same kind of work, but be paid differently. How do we manage this conundrum?
See, this is my personal view, which is that you pay people for what the outcomes that they deliver are going to be. It doesn't matter where they work from, whether they work from home, work from office, work from wherever. I think the biggest challenge that we're all going to run into, in my opinion, is that how do you measure performance? How do you measure output? Not all roles, not all kinds of jobs are going to lend themselves to quantitative measurements of performance. You're going to have a blend of objective and subjective criteria that on the basis of which you measure people. The challenge is going to be for organizations to design performance management systems that will measure output as opposed to anything else. So I don't believe that the distributed nature of workforce, or whether they're going to be physically located in one place or another, is really going to influence that quite as much as it's going to be on the basis of how you objectively measure performance. We, as I said earlier, have a large distributed workforce. I mean, we service, as I said, some of the largest banks, ATMs and branch network. So you have people spread out across 1,000 different locations in the country.
Yeah.
So we're already in that mode of a highly distributed environment. The only people who come to office are the non-field folks, and that's a small percentage. So there again, the critical piece is going to be around designing meaningful, substantive, largely objective evaluation and performance evaluation criteria. So thereafter, it becomes a sort of even keel evaluation.
Yeah. So taking that concept further, Murali, I think what I heard, Vijay, I heard Murali talk about the need for us to really measure outcome and impact of people, even if they are in a distributed environment. But coming to this whole moot point about reward and recognition, right? It's about R&R and rewarding people, recognizing people in the moment. And it's easier done when people are connected much tighter, people are coming to work. There's a sense of recognition when you give somebody an award in a town hall. Now, I'm sure as things get stabler, some of these will happen, but it will never go back to the same normalcy that it has been. So what is your thinking, Vijay? I mean, how will we manage this whole R&R stuff? And I know that technology will enable it, but there is a level of impersonalization of this, right? So what's your thinking around this, Vijay?
Unmesh, things are pretty simple with the technology.
Yeah.
Okay. See again, if you are sending out an email congratulating someone, or uh, motivating other team members with his achievement, whatever what work he did and all. So it's a very simple technique actually. One can write a kind of a thank you note, paste it on an employee dashboard. Okay, it's a simple thing basically. Instead of writing an email, if you put it on an employee dashboard, or you can say put it on a your intranet or something like that. That serves a kind of a personalized. Okay, suppose now the people are working from their homes or any other location. Okay, in office we talk about ergonomics, everything and all. Okay, so one way could be just give them a ergonomic furniture at home basically, wherein they can sit, relax, and then this one and all. Then again, you can have a kind of a group calls if you want to do a kind of a onboarding and all. There should be kind of a personalized calls basically, video calls basically, video group chat should be there. So there should be kind of a training, and it's not only about HR doing this all those things. All other managers who are the, you can say, people, they should be taught this thing. They should be made well versed with the technology. Whatever we have got a multiple platforms where you can say, you can talk about SharePoint, you can talk about Microsoft Teams, you can talk about Zoom, what we are using, or you can talk about there are a couple of platforms like Slack and all used in the other nations, not in India basically. Okay, there are other groups are there where so we need to train our managers in being the enabler for these technology fronts basically, so that they can do also their job basically. See, if an employee receives a appreciation, be it any form, be it you can say electronic form or in person and all, from his reporting manager, that really motivates him basically.
Yeah.
So whatever HR does, there are only few people in HR basically, and we have got hundreds of leaders basically, reporting managers, something like that. So all they need to be trained, in my opinion, basically, so that they take forward the entire effort. And then this one, then we can give small, you can say gift cards kind of a thing. Electronically it's very easy basically. You just put it into their account or something like that and all. So this small initiatives, will drive the engagement at all levels. Okay, and then again there should be kind of a extensive use of you can say video calls basically, so that they feel connected. And it's not about taking their reporting or something like that. Giving them a, you can say, power nap breaks and something like that. We can think of basically. Suppose
No,
yeah.
No, I think great point. I think what we are seeing, as you rightly said, is the remit of total rewards is going beyond just fixed pay, fixed variable, and long-term incentives. I think organizations are now actively looking at a broad suite of engagement-related or employee well-being related initiatives and allowing people to make a choice, right? So depending upon body, mind, soul, heart, and family, what is financial well-being, with what is important to people. It's involved the whole insurance piece, the medical facilities that our people are being provided today, with respect to fitness, etc. I think organizations are making more options available as a part of the total rewards remit, and I think that is really good to see.
Yeah.
Murali, were you trying to make a comment on this?
I was going to say,
Yeah.
I think I think to both what Vijay said as well as what you said, but there's a lot of things that have changed. All the things that you spoke about and he spoke about is something that we've done, right? We've had connect sessions, we've had regular connects with people, we've had a whole host of initiatives, emotional well-being. As an organization, we provide emotional well-being to our people, not just to our people, to our families. We've enhanced the insurance to cover our contingent worker families, a whole host of things that are enhancements to what we already do. But the piece that that I struggle with today and that I'm grappling with is when anybody who joins an organization joins with a certain set of expectations, and those expectations are around the nature of the organization, the kind of rewards he gets, the opportunity he gets, the kind of people he works with. So there's an implied and a stated promise when somebody joins an organization. To us, the challenge is how well are we doing to make sure that that implied and stated promise is being delivered. I think
Right.
we're in that world today where anything and everything that we do has to touch every individual personally. Anything that we do that's of a mass nature has its purpose, will serve its purpose, and we will continue to do that. But the more you can customize engagement, the more you can, and reward and recognition and the expectations of reward and recognition is not limited, as I said, to monetary things. Learning opportunities. Do I get the opportunity to grow? So we've got an initiative in the company, which is our flagship initiative. It's called Our People First. So when we look at Our People First, we look at three pillars, right? Really, growth, development, and engagement with and of our people. So what can we do that puts our people in front when there's an opportunity to grow rather than look outside? What can we do to provide them with developmental opportunities in the organization? How do we make sure they're appreciated? How do we give them autonomy? How do we give them empowerment? How do we do all this in such a way that it touches every single employee? Obviously, it's very difficult and challenging to when you have 3,000, 4,000 employees to make it happen. But that's really the challenge. That's really the opportunity. So the more you can do that, the more loyalty you get in the employee, the more productive they become, and that's really the ultimate goal. How can we use technology? How can we use every piece, every arsenal in front of us to make this as close to the individual as we possibly can? And if we can do that with bringing the family in, so we do stuff where we bring family in. So there's a reason for the family to believe that when their spouse or their father or whoever is extending himself or herself, and there is an organization and a culture behind that, and they feel part of that organization and that culture. So these are some of the challenges that we are grappling with, and these are the opportunities that we see.
No, great point. I think we are running out of time, so I'm going to come to the last question, really. And I think this is really about organizational vitality, and the point that you brought in, I think, and the pandemic kind of highlighted this, that if you do not have the next generation skills in the organization, then you will struggle. And I think organizations that did well through the pandemic and are showing signs of green shoots already are organizations that had invested in learning and invested in reskilling of their people. And this whole veil done effect, right? And I believe that to reinforce behaviors, there cannot be a better tool than reward, recognition, and compensation, the whole total reward space. What is the role, therefore, you see of us as functionaries who are leading comp benefits and rewards? How do we believe that we can push the organizational reskilling agenda forward? What's Vijay, your thinking? And then Murali, quickly try and keep it crisp. We don't need to close. So I think I'm getting pushed by the coordinator. So over to you, Vijay.
So Unmesh, again, by training the people, introducing online training courses, programs, giving them for free, or you can say at a moderate cost, okay, and then driving the engagement, participation in that engagement, you can say, by the business leaders, key business leaders, key people in the organization. So that would really drive basically reskilling in the current scenario.
Okay, so Murali, I'm just going to challenge what Vijay said, right? I mean, this is something that we've been talking about and we believe we're going to do it. But I think, why would if that's what HR has been doing and that's what organizations have been doing, why would some organizations struggle and some not, right? So which means that it needs relentless focus, and and the entire reskilling agenda needs to be managed. One is the whole training, the how of the training delivery. But I think this is about behavior. How do we shift behaviors where you have a carrot at the end of things? So what is your counsel, especially in the tech space? How could we do that?
Yeah, I think again, our industry more than any other perhaps today, there's been dramatic transformation that's taken place. Digital transformation has just completely changed what we saw happen just 2 years back is no longer, front and center, no longer even relevant in certain cases.
Yeah.
I think people, our biggest, today, our biggest task, our objective is to make people understand that it's a question of, invest in yourself, or you might end up becoming obsolete and perish. I think people need to understand, and that's what we're trying to do. And for that, I don't believe again that a mass approach, running any program and every program for everybody. I don't think that's the approach. Micro learning, I think, is going to play a very critical part, because micro learning allows you to devise programs that are both interesting to the individual, in line with his growth aspirations, in line with his aptitude and interest, as well as what is relevant to the company. So we encourage people to do programs, not just those that benefit the organization, but it allows them to look for opportunities that are beyond what is currently visible to them, because they've made that investment to transition. So it has to be an intrinsic motivation that comes from that individual. And we certainly believe that for people who invest in themselves, the opportunity exists and should exist, not just for monetary compensation related things, but as well opportunities to grow key positions, move into things that are important in the organization. So that opportunity will present itself to those that invest in themselves, and that, I think, is the message that we carry forward to our larger organization. And we
Great, Murali.
Significantly.
No, thank you, Murali. I think, look, this is a conversation that we can't do justice in 30 minutes, because in times like these, when money is tight, we need to make the most of every dollar that we spend, and especially so where organizations know that they have to continuously skill and reskill people. And that's going to be the biggest agenda that CEOs are going to be focused on, to say, do we have the skills that will allow us to be able to differentiate ourselves in the marketplace going forward? So thank you very much. Thank you very much for your insights, and I hope that everybody has liked and benefited from this conversation. And I truly enjoyed facilitating both the sessions. Thank you, Sapphire Connect, and Isha, back to you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Pawar, and it's been an absolute delight listening to all of you all deliberate over these issues. And like you said, every dollar matters. So we'd like to thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye.